गुरबट सर जरा लॉग इन करता का? अश्विनी घोडे. हा सर हाँ लोक ऑलरेडी जॉईन झाले. गुड मॉर्निंग सर. हेलो. हेलो. Hello, good morning, sir. Hello, can you hear me, sir? Hello.
हॅलो डॉक्टर लाखे.
सर.
हा हॅलो. आवाज वगैरे ठीक आहे, येतोय का? डॉक्टर लाखे.
हा सर. हा
येतोय येतोय ना, पण तुमचा फार मोठ्याने येतोय. काहीतरी आपण हा एक मिनिट.
थोडा
हा 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 आता.
हॅलो.
हॅलो.
माझा आवाज येतोय तुम्हाला?
हो येतोय येतोय. हो येतोय. आणि माझा क्लिअरली येतोय का?
तुमचा क्लिअरली आवाज येतोय सर. एकदम क्लिअर आवाज येतोय तुमचा.
येतोय ना? ठीक आहे ठीक आहे.
येतोय सर. तुमची पीपीटी वगैरे काय प्रेझेंट करायचं असेल तर मला मेल केलं तर मी इथून शेअर करेन.
अच्छा अच्छा. तो तुमचा मेल आयडी काय आहे पण?
मी लगेच व्हॉट्सअपला टाकू?
हो टाका टाका.
एक जस्ट व्हॉट्सअपला लगेच पाठवतो सर.
ते म्हणतात तिकडे शेअर करा त्यांच्या बरोबर.
म्हणजे तुम्हाला सर अडचण होणार नाही काही?
नाही पण मला ते दिसेल ना तुम्ही जर शेअर केलं.
हो तुम्हाला दिसणार सर.
नाही पण काय होईल, मला सारखं नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट म्हणावं लागेल.
अच्छा मग तुम्ही
त्याच्यापेक्षा मी शेअर करतो ते.
चालेल
त्यांनी सोपं पडेल.
बरं होईल सर.
आणि नंतर मी पाठवीनच तुमच्याकडे.
चालेल काय अडचण नाही सर.
या.
तरी एकदा शेअर करून बघा सर. एकदा ट्राय करून बघा.
हो एकदा करून बघू. हा करेक्ट. हो ना हा दिसतंय का?
हा सर
दिसतंय ना? क्लिअर आहे ना?
दिसतंय एकदम क्लिअर आहे सर. क्लिअर आहे.
ते आपण अर्थात मॅक्सिमाइज करू.
हो बस फुल स्क्रीन झाली सर.
फुल स्क्रीन झाली ना?
हो.
मी काय फक्त डाऊन. हा हो दिसतंय ना?
हो
सगळं. हा फाईन. मग आता आपण एक 5 मिनिटात चालू करू.
चालेल सर.
5 मिनिटात आलो. पत्र नाही आला नाही.
डीजी बापट करके है देख। गलत है।
नहीं ये अश्विनी बापट।
हाँ डीजी बापट।
अरे मेरे को नाम चेंज करना है।
ऑडियो डिस्कनेक्ट कर दे रहा।
कुठे आहेत?
हाँ ये है वो दो लड़कियां हैं मतलब श्रुति की जो फ्रेंड है।
क्या? हाँ वो तो गिर गिर के होता है। नाम
दीप्ति प्लीज म्यूट योर माइक।
व्हिडिओ चालू करून. हॅलो डॉक्टर लाखे.
हा सर. येस सर.
हा, तर मी क्लिअर दिसतोय का?
हो सर. हो हो. एकदम क्लिअर सर.
ओके. मग हा, आता प्रोग्राम कसा कसा जाईल?
सर मी प्रोग्राम शेड्यूल आहे ना, तुम्हाला मी
नाही ठीक आहे, मला
व्हॉट्सअपला
सांगा.
पाठवू का लगेच सर?
नाही नाही, कशाला, मला सांगा
हा.
फक्त.
नाही ना, आता सर सुरुवातीला काय होईल, 11:30 एक्झॅक्ट आहे ना,
हो.
प्रिन्सिपल मॅडमचा वेलकम ऍड्रेस होईल.
ओके.
त्यानंतर एक 2 ते 3 मिनिट इंट्रोडक्शन होईल.
हो.
आणि इंट्रोडक्शन नंतर मग तुमचं सर स्पीच होईल. त्याच्यानंतर
चालेल चालेल. ओके.
प्रिन्सिपल मॅडमचं झालं की
हा, 1 मिनिट. या.
हो.
लावला.
चष्मा. या. किती लोक जॉईन झालेत?
78 आहेत सर.
हा.
स्टील दे आर जॉईनिंग.
ओके ओके. 8. दहावीची जी मीटिंग होती ती फुल फॅकल्टीची होती का फक्त कोऑर्डिनेटरची? कोऑर्डिनेटर. अच्छा. नाही, हे सगळे कोऑर्डिनेटर आणि जोशी सर याच्या करतात तिथला सेटअप वगैरे करतात. बाकी कोणी नव्हते ना, संगीता नाही कोऑर्डिनेटर.
झूम फुल झालं सर, 100 झाले.
हो.
त्यांना आता युट्यूब लाईव्ह चालू केलेलं आहे.
बर.
हा, मग तिकडे लाईव्ह आपलं स्ट्रीमिंग होऊन
हो
जाईल.
बरोबर.
तिकडे
मतलब
YouTube
कुछ भी भरोसा नहीं बाबा, कुछ भी हो सकता है. हेलो, मैं बोला ना आ जाते लोग.
हॅलो, प्लीज म्यूट युअर माइक. सर 1-2 मिनिटं मी फक्त जरा घेतो. मॅडम आल्या होते.
हो
कारण ते युट्यूब लाईव्ह स्ट्रीम करून देतो ते.
हो.
1 मिनिट.
या. गुड मॉर्निंग डॉक्टर पवार.
Sir, he is the head of the Department of
Yes,
Department
yes.
of Economics.
या या.
Yes, Dr. Pawar. सर मॅडम आहेत ना, 100
हो.
झाला ना, त्यामुळे ते फुल झालं. मॅडम इज वेटिंग नाउ.
बर.
आय आस्क्ड समवन टू लीव अँड जॉइन आफ्टर सम टाइम. मॅडम
Okay.
इज कमिंग.
ओके.
Yes, yes. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
गुड मॉर्निंग मॅडम. गुड मॉर्निंग.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning. Sir, let us start, sir.
येस येस प्लीज.
Yes.
Okay.
Lake, sir,
Yes, yes,
I have
ma'am.
to
Yes,
start?
ma'am. Yes, I'll start.
Yeah.
Yes. Parliamentary Vidyalaya Association's Mulund College of Commerce organizes third Dr. B.G. Bapat Memorial Lecture 2022. Good morning to one and all. With great joy and immense exultation, I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all the present over here for the third Dr. B.G. Bapat Memorial Lecture 2022. Ano Bhadra Kratovo Yantu Vishwataha. This is our motto. Means let the noble thoughts come to us from every side. As a part of this, we all know that Mulund College of Commerce has been organizing an endowment lecture series, and Dr. B.G. Bapat Memorial Lecture is one of them. Respected Dr. Sonali Pednekar Madam, Principal Mulund College of Commerce, our chief guest of today's program, Honorable Economist Dr. Rajesh Parchure sir, Senior Professor and former Director, Berkeley Institute of Politics and Economics. Dr. K.J. Rajan sir, Vice Principal of Mulund College of Commerce. Dr. Shivaji Pawar sir, Head of the Department of Economics. Teacher colleagues and my beloved students. I'm sure that you will witness a very informative and highly interactive program ahead. Once again, I welcome you all on behalf of the whole team of today's program. Mr. Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, had said on one occasion that as we look ahead in the 21st century, leaders will be those who empower us, and it's more applicable to our academic and administrative leader, Principal Dr. Sonali Pednekar Madam. Madam, you are one of the most respected dignitaries. Now, may I request our Principal Madam to read the welcome address. Please, ma'am.
Namaskar, and a very warm good morning to all present on this virtual platform.
Continue. Na?
Dr. Parchure, a very warm welcome to the virtual platform of Mulund College of Commerce. It would have been a much greater pleasure for us had we been able to meet you and host you in our college premises. But that I think we have to keep for some other day. And today we need to be happy that we have you with us, at least virtually. We would get to hear you. And I'm sure all our audience today will learn from what you have to share with us. On behalf of Parliamentary Vidyalaya Association and Mulund College of Commerce, I welcome you, sir, on this virtual platform. As Dr. Lakhi has said, this is the third year of the B.G. Bapat Memorial Lectures. We instituted this memorial lecture in our Golden Jubilee year. And since then, the first lecture that we had was in our college auditorium by Mr. Chandrasekhar Tirak, our very own alumnus and a student of Dr. Bapat. The second lecture we were compelled to take online, and now the pandemic being extended, we are once more on the virtual platform. We hope that next year we will be able to get back. I'm sure, sir, you will agree with me that the virtual or online mode of education has widened the horizons of all students and teachers. We are able to reach out to people who probably were out of our reach if we had considered the physical format. We are also able to cut across time zones. And I think that is a huge opportunity that all of us have got to live the motto of our college, to allow noble thoughts to come to us from all sides and come to us from all times. But having said that, we also realize that the physical interaction, the face-to-face interaction between teachers amongst themselves, teachers and students, And the group interaction of students in classrooms is something that we've all missed in the last 2 years. We've lost quite a bit of it. And however much technology has assisted us, technology cannot replace the classroom ambience. So I do hope that gradually we move towards coming back to classrooms, peer learning, learning from teachers in the classroom and learning from experts, renowned persons and scholars like you is something that we would love to do. In future, we would like all of this to be a blended or a hybrid form wherein students and teachers are here in college. We can reach out to people who are away from us. We can learn from them. This is what has always been what Parle Tirak Vidyalaya Association has stood for. The association itself, a 100-year-old institution managing so many schools and colleges, has always been in sync with the times. And we, as a part of the PTVA at Mulund College of Commerce, have also done our bit to try and stay in line with what the times demand. In fact, I would like to say that we like to believe that we will prepare ourselves for what is to come. And what is to come is a blended mode of learning. What is to come is the ability to finely balance the physical format of dissemination of information and education with what is available in the online or virtual platforms. My dear students, for you, it is important that you understand this fine balance, because with a plethora of information available to you at the click of the button, you need to understand how to sieve that information and how to pick what is important, what is relevant, what is going to help you in shaping your personalities, your values, your professions, and your careers. And how, more importantly, how to discard all other things that may be temporarily important, but otherwise irrelevant. So education to me is something where you learn how to imbibe the good from everywhere, how to discard the irrelevant or the unnecessary that is all around you, and how to then translate these good thoughts, noble thoughts, and right values into your day-to-day living. As a professor of economics, I'm sure Dr. Partsure is going to lead us into many, many thought-provoking ideas where you learn to understand the nuances of economics, both Indian as well as international. And as you set out on your paths of professional development, you do not forget how deeply rooted you are to our nation, to our thought processes, and at the same time, you emerge as a global citizen aware of what is happening around the world. With these few thoughts, Dr. Partsure, I welcome you once more to Mulund College of Commerce, and I'm sure everybody here is eagerly waiting to hear from you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your kind words. Now I take this opportunity to introduce today's resource person. Respected sir, you hardly need any introduction. You have made all of us proud by your contribution in academics and the policy making. We are very fortunate to have economist Dr. Rajesh Partsure sir with us, who is a student of Dr. B.G. Bapat sir. Dr. Partsure sir has been the RBI professor of finance at Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics since 2008. Prior to that, he was professor at National Insurance Academy from 1992 to 2007. He was with the Times of India for 10 years as an economist. As I said earlier, that he has served as a member or a chairman of several committees of Planning Commission, Reserve Bank of India, and the government of Maharashtra. He is the author of 6 books and the 15 monographs. He has published many papers in reputed journals at the national and the international level. Above all, he has been a student of Professor B.G. Bapat sir. Now, I know that we all are waiting to listen to our today's resource person. We feel honored and privileged to have with his economist, Dr. Rajesh Parsure sir. Now I may request Dr. Rajesh Parsure sir to enlighten the audience. Yes, sir, please. Over to you, sir.
Thank you.
Ganesh,
मी दिसलो पाहिजे आता. Thank you, Dr. Arjun Lakhe, for a very what shall I say, an excessively generous kind of an introduction, and also my gratitude to Dr. Sonali Pednekar, the principal of your college, and to Dr. Shivaji Pawar, who is the head of department, and so many of your colleagues and friends who are here with us today. The subject that I have chosen, first of all, I should mention to you about my association with Dr. Bapat. Dr. Bapat was a great individual, and I'm not the only one saying it. Generations of students at Gokhale Institute will even today testify that there was no teacher like Dr. Bapat. There were only 2 teachers. You know, in Gokhale Institute, when we became students, that is way back in 1978-79, there used to be a big gap between our teachers and the students. So there was hardly any communication between teachers and students outside the class. And most of us students used to be, we used to fear our teachers. Of course, we had great respect for them, but we don't know which was the greater, whether it was fear or respect. And I suspect that it was more fear than respect. Nevertheless, there were only 2 teachers whom all of us remember even to this day. One was Professor B.G. Bapat, and second was Dr. Anand Nadkarni. These 2 teachers, you know, the beauty of their teaching was that they could satisfy the most brilliant students and the students who were not at all very good in economics. At the same time, the last boy in the class used to find the lecture very useful and very understandable. That was the hallmark of their teaching. Otherwise, also we had great teachers like Professor Dandekar, Professor Rath. I can mention so many, Professor Chitri, Professor Venkatramaya, but their penetration was a bit limited to the above average students. The students who were below average, they could not keep pace with these other professors. But Professor Bapat and Professor Nadkarni, they stood apart in the fact that they could reach the last student in the class. These are our collective memories of these 2 teachers. Now, of course, I have more private memories also of Dr. Bapat. Dr. Bapat was a very saintly person. I have never known him to raise his voice. He had a soft voice, a bit hoarse, but it was soft always. And he used to care a lot for his students, whether rich or poor or this thing, it just did not matter to him. He would himself reach out and address the students, their academic problems, and sometimes even their personal problems. By a stroke of very good luck, I became his PhD student, and I worked on the determination of exchange rates. So when Dr. Lakhe came to invite me, I started thinking on what I should be able to, what should I speak on. And then I decided that let me speak on the subject that I worked with Dr. Bapat for my PhD. And presently, two of my students are doing further research on that work. And so what I will be reporting is not only my work, but also my work and that of my students who are presently working on it. So let us go to my presentation. It is titled Multi-Country Transactions and the Determination of Exchange Rates. Now, friends, determination of exchange rates, we have always, there is always some kind of an abstraction about it. Exactly how are these exchange rates determined? And theories of exchange rate determination vary. I have also found people who think of conspiracy theories in this. So they say, hey, an American man, if he were to come to India, every dollar costs, say, 70 rupees, and he can come and live like a king in India. How is it that it is 70 rupees? Why not 1 rupee equal to $1 or something like that? So we say, no, because America is so powerful, and they make sure that their currency is much more appreciated than our currency, and so on and so forth. So there are many general views of this kind. But of course, economics goes by economic theory, and we are taught some theories in the class, and we tend to feel that these theories are satisfactory in some sense or the other. So which are those theories? Let me take a very quick review of those theories. All of you are familiar with them because you have heard them in your classrooms. But I will tell you some of their drawbacks, and then I will go to the main subject, which is multi-country transactions and the determination of exchange rates, on which I worked with Professor Bapat. So let me start with the most familiar theory which we do in the class. It is the usual demand-supply theory. We say that a foreign currency is also like a commodity. Now, this itself is a little, many questions can be raised, but nevertheless, let's follow the theory as it goes. That foreign exchange is a commodity, and how I buy foreign exchange? I have to give rupees in order to purchase dollars. So dollars becomes the commodity which is being purchased or sold, and it has got a demand curve and it has got a supply curve. So like there is a supply curve of onions and a demand curve for onions, likewise for foreign exchange. Like there is a demand curve for apples and a supply curve of apples, likewise here also. Like there is a demand curve for houses and a supply curve of houses, likewise for foreign exchange. And so some kind of a logic is given. Why is the demand curve downward sloping? So you say that as the rupee depreciates, that means the exchange rate goes up and up and up from 30 rupees to a dollar to 70 rupees to a dollar to 100 rupees to a dollar and so on, then American goods become very costly in the Indian market. And so we buy fewer of those goods. We try to substitute those production of those goods at home itself, and therefore demand less dollars. But if the rupee were to appreciate, that means the dollar were to depreciate, and it comes down from 100 to 70 to 30 to 10 rupees to a dollar, then obviously American goods will become cheaper in the Indian market, and we'll buy more and more dollars and use those dollars to buy more and more goods. And likewise with the supply curve, as the rupee depreciates, our goods become cheaper abroad, and therefore our exports increase and the exporters bring in more dollars. Like that, this theory goes. And so there's a demand curve, there's a supply curve, and where the two intersect, that is where the equilibrium exchange rate is settled. Now, just start looking at this theory more carefully. First of all, it is based on two countries, two currencies, and transactions are basically current account transactions, exports, imports of goods and services. But if you see the balance of payments, full account of balance of payments, it is an account of our transactions with the rest of the world. Then you will find that exports and imports of goods and services is only one part of it. The other part is the capital account, where movements of capital, FDI, foreign portfolio investment, movements in inflow of capitals and movement of capital out of the country, this is also a very, very large component. And in fact, in the post World War, Second World War era, gradually, if you see the trends, the capital account movements have become much larger than the current account movements. So that is another drawback of the usual demand supply theory. It doesn't consider those capital account movements. Secondly, there are only two countries and two currencies involved at every time. So suppose I want to see how the rupee yen rate is determined. Then I have to draw another diagram with rupees per yen on the vertical axis, y-axis, and yen on the horizontal axis. And then in the usual way, I have to make assumptions of ceteris paribus, all other things remaining the same, which of course in international finance, they impossible for other things to remain the same. So now many questions start. When I determine the exchange rate, equilibrium exchange rate of rupee to dollar, then I say my relations with Japan are as they are, my relations with Australia are as they are, my relations with Europe are as they are, no change in them, then this demand supply works. But this kind of thing, you cannot keep on extending everywhere. For example, sometime you have to ask the question, and that is what sometimes data will show you, that I, for example, as India, I may have a balance of trade deficit with the USA, but with some countries in Europe and some countries in East Asia and some countries of Africa, I may have a balance of payment surplus. Okay, just to simplify things. Suppose I have a balance of payments deficit with USA. I import more, export less to USA, from USA to USA. And at the same time, just to make an example, okay, I am exporting more to Japan and importing less from Japan. So I have a surplus with them and I have a deficit with USA. Is it necessarily disequilibrium? No, because I can always exchange the yen which are coming in. Whenever I have a surplus, there will be an inflow of foreign currency. Whenever I have a deficit, there is an outflow of foreign currency. But what is the harm if the inflow is in yen and my outflow is in dollars? I can convert the inflow of yen into the outflow of dollars and pay off Americans. There should not be a big problem in that. There should not be a big problem at all. In fact, if you take any country's balance of payments, you will find that with some countries it has got deficits and with some countries it has got surpluses. And those surpluses and deficits can cancel out. If they don't cancel out, then we would say that the overall balance of payments shows either a surplus or a deficit, if those surpluses and deficits don't cancel out. But many times, partly at least, these cancel out. And there is no pressure on those currencies if they cancel out exactly. So that's the whole point. For example, China has got a huge surplus with Europe. It is the biggest exporter of the world. So it has a huge surplus with Europe and USA and so on and so forth. And what does it do with the surplus? It invests all over the world. It invests in Pakistan, it invests in Southeast Asia, it invests in Africa and buys up the mineral resources of Africa and so on and so forth. So it is So there is an credit on the trade account, but a deficit on the capital account, and the exchange rate remains where it is. So now you cannot therefore have a theory of exchange rate which ignores all these. Which are the two things which are ignored? One of the things is the capital account transactions. These are ignored, one. And secondly, the fact that surpluses and deficits can cancel each other out and equilibrium can be there. These are the two drawbacks of the usual demand supply theory. We have to recognize capital account movements and we have to recognize several countries. Now, let us take a look at another theory of exchange rate. It is called the purchasing power parity theory. This is also an old theory, and it says, what is the function of money? The function of money is to purchase goods. Now, dollars are used to purchase goods in America. Rupees are used to purchase goods in India. What should determine the rate of exchange? So you say, look at the purchasing power of the rupee and look at the purchasing power of the dollar. Okay. Now, so in order to do this, you have to fix some basket of goods, some clothing, some food, some transport, some entertainment, some fuel, so all kinds of commodities which people consume. So let us say I fix up some common basket of goods and services. And then I say, how much money would be required to purchase this basket of goods and services in the US at the prices which are prevailing in USA? Okay. And I call that amount of money, say, MA. And for that same basket of goods and services, in India, if I have to purchase them at the prices which are prevailing in India, how much money would be required? So obviously, this depends upon what are the price levels of various commodities in the USA and in India. So suppose India is country A and US is country B. How much should be the rupee to dollar rate? So we say price level in India divided by price level in America will give the exchange rate, long run exchange rate between the rupees and dollars. So then, of course, after this theory came out, long time ago it came out, so almost you could say 100 years ago, less than 100 years ago. And people started comparing, taking a basket of goods and seeing how the price levels are and where the exchange rate is. And then they found that no, it is just not matching at all. So they said, okay, now let us review this. So then they said, let this version, that EAB, rupees to dollar exchange rate, is equal to price level in India divided by price level in America, let us call it the absolute purchasing power parity. And let us make another version of this theory, which is called the relative version of purchasing power parity. All of this also you must have studied in class. So which says that the level of prices does not determine the level of exchange rate, but the movement in prices will determine the movement in exchange rates. Just keep this in mind. The level will not determine the level, but change in prices over a period of time will determine the change in the exchange rate. That's why I have put delta EAB. So delta EAB means how the exchange rate will move will depend upon the inflation rate in India divided by inflation rate in USA. So if inflation rate over say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years in India is higher than the inflation rate in USA, which of course incidentally it is, then gradually the rupee must depreciate against the US dollar. So if India inflation rate is say 8%, and inflation rate in USA is 3%, then the difference is about 5%. And by 5% every year, on an average, the rupee should depreciate against the dollar. So that is the movement in exchange rate, not the level of exchange rate, but movement. How does this happen? If inflation rate in India is higher, then over a period of time, Indian goods become costlier and costlier in the USA. So we sell lesser and lesser. But American goods are relatively, in relative terms, look cheaper and cheaper because their inflation rate is lower. So we buy more of their goods. And then we have a deficit. And when we have a deficit, the rupee must depreciate. And that's how the rupee will depreciate. So it has got some amount of merit in this theory because it talks about rates. Then, of course, there are more and more modern theories, because main difficulty with the purchasing power parity theory is that it also ignores capital account movements. Okay, it is also related to trade, what inflation rate does to exports and what inflation rate does to imports. So once again, capital account is eliminated, is not considered at all. But as I told you, capital account transactions dominate trade flows everywhere, especially in the modern world. So they have to be given some kind of a consideration. How are they given consideration? So we have monetary approach to balance of payments, and then a generalization of that, which is called the portfolio balance theory. So they say, that is theories of this thing, this theory will say that currencies are also assets. Money is also an asset. And currency can be used to buy a variety of assets along with buying foreign exchange. Foreign exchange is another asset. And therefore, there will be capital account transactions if there is a difference, say, in the rate of interest. If American rate of interest increases, then there will be capital outflow from India towards America. Demand for American dollar will rise and American currency will appreciate. Okay. If rate of interest in Japan were to fall, of course, it has fallen to zero. It cannot fall any further. But if it falls, it means that there is no point in investing in Japan. It's better to invest in some other country where the rate of interest is higher. So you move your funds out of Japan into some other country. Now, when you move your funds out of Japan, you are selling yen and maybe buying dollars or rupees or euro, wherever the rates are higher. And once you buy them, those currencies will appreciate. So that's how you get a theory where the exchange rate is a function of the rate of interest at home as well as abroad, the rate of stock market appreciation at home and abroad, because that will determine portfolio, foreign portfolio investment flows. And then you can generalize it to say, ultimately, what investors are looking for is not just the nominal rate of return, money rate of return, but the real rate of return. So inflation rates must be minused from those nominal rates to get the real rate. So that's how the inflation rates are brought into the story. And yes, so that's how this theory goes. And of course, there are a number of econometric approaches, random walk model, and eclectic approaches. That means econometric plus theoretical. So they take balance of payment changes, asset returns, inflation, money supply changes, real income changes. A number of such changes are taken into account. But now let us see what happens. This is the history of exchange rate theory that I have tried to encapsulate and summarize within a very, very short time. Things started to change around 2001. In 2001, there is an economist called James Lyons. He's basically a French economist, but of course he made his career in the USA. And he gave a model known as the order flow model. Now, Lyons had based his work on his actual experience in trading of currencies while sitting on the foreign exchange desk of a very large bank. So he was actually a foreign exchange trader. On behalf of clients who were placing orders with him, any kinds of clients, multinational companies, banks, any kinds of people, importers, exporters, tourists, whatever, of all kinds. They would place orders. I want to buy this currency. I want to sell this currency, and so on and so forth. And he found that the larger the buy order that is coming to him, and immediately the exchange rate currency would appreciate that currency. Large sell orders coming onto his desk would cause the currency to depreciate. And he monitored this data over time. And he found that this order flows is the most important determinant of exchange rate movements. All the other theories that we have said, of purchasing power parity, of rates of interest in various countries, of stock markets in various countries, its appreciation or depreciation, all of those things, if I take on one side and order flows on another side, then the order flow based model is much, much better than the econometric models which combine economic theories. That is what he found. And he has written a series of papers after 2001, after his first work was published. And this is called the microstructure approach to exchange rate determination. I won't go into the technical details of microstructure approach, but maybe if you correspond with me, I will send you some literature. And this is a very, very interesting approach to the whole thing. Let me now come to the work which I did with Dr. Bapat, because it has got a linkage with these order flow models. Of course, I worked on my PhD in 1989-90, and the work that I did at that time, I will quickly show you. There is a bit of mathematics, but don't worry about the mathematics. I will explain in largely understandable English of what we are trying to do. The first thing that we are trying to say is that we will not concentrate on anything, neither on trade account nor on capital account. We will concentrate on both accounts simultaneously, number one. Number two, we will not limit the model to 2 countries or 3 countries or 4 countries like that. We will allow there to be many, many countries at the same time. So let me first show you this model and how this model is used to generate demand and supply forces, how those forces operate in the foreign exchange market. You should know, of course, foreign exchange, the word foreign exchange itself says in so many words that it is basically an exchange, okay? Exchange of one currency for another. Nothing else is achieved by the foreign exchange. The foreign exchange market, the main function is to see that demands for currencies and supplies of currencies exactly match, and the market is cleared. By cleared is meant there is no residual demand or supply. Whatever is the supply, that converts into demand. Whatever is the demand, that converts into supply. That is the whole thing. Because I cannot demand any currency without supplying some currency. Okay, so supply creates its own demand and demand creates its own supply, but only of different currencies. The best place where Say's law of markets works is the foreign exchange market. Every demand is a supply, every supply is a demand. Now, this I will show. This is what Rogoff and Mies and several foreign exchange theorists international financial theorists have said that the proportion of monthly or quarterly exchange rate changes that current models explain, current theories explain, is essentially zero. Okay, that's how Lyons came up with his model. Many people have said all these theories are unsatisfactory. They are largely failing. Uh, and they should be discarded. No evidence is there to support those theories. So now let us look at this matrix. Matrix means table. I have divided the world into A, B, C to Z countries. Okay, A, B, C to Z countries. And I want you to read this table vertically, that is column wise, and horizontally, that is row wise. Now let us read the first row. These are country A's payments to the rest of the world. So country A's international payments to itself has to be zero. Obviously, they are payments inside the economy. They don't go on to the foreign exchange market. But countries A's payments to country B is PAB, money going from A to B. Country A's payments to country C is PAC. Country A's payments to D will be PAD, and so on. Country A's payments to country Z will be PAZ. If I were to sum the elements of this row, PAC, PAB plus PAC plus PAD plus PAE and so on up to PAZ, I will get PA. That is the total payments of country A to the rest of the world, to all the countries in the world. Likewise, second row will show the payments of country B to A, to C, that is foreign countries for B, not B itself, to C, to D, to E, to Z, and total payments of PB. Likewise for PC and likewise for PZ. So row wise, I get the total payments, international payments of each country. When I take the totals of each row, I get the total payments made by that country to the rest of the world, to all other countries. Now, you have to keep in mind, where does the supply of rupees, let's say, come from? Rupees is the currency of India. I'm not talking of now the Pakistani rupee. That is a different currency. Rupee is the currency of India, Indian rupee. Where is it used? It is used in India. Where is it produced? It is produced only in India, except for some terrorists who try to produce it elsewhere. But that is counterfeit currency. That is illegal. But otherwise, only one country can produce rupees, Indian rupees, and that is India. Nobody else can do it. So if there are payments to the rest of the world taking place from India, then that supply of rupees can come only from India. That is the total supply of rupees. It cannot come from anywhere else. So PA, the row total that you are seeing in this table, is the international supply of each currency in the foreign exchange market. So PA is the supply of currency A, PB, which may be US dollar. US dollar can be supplied only by US. So PB is the total supply of US dollars. PC is the total supply of maybe euro and yen and so on, Australian dollar and so on and so forth. This is how to read this row wise. Now I will read this column wise. Let me read this table column wise. Let us read the first column: PBA, PCA, PDA, PZA. Now, these are the receipts of India from the rest of the world. B is payments of B to A. Let us say A is India. So America's payments to India. So payment means if America is paying us, these are the receipts of India. PCA are Japan's payments to India. Therefore, PCA are receipts of India. Now, who will pay India? And I'm getting dollars, I'm getting euros, I'm getting yen, I'm getting so many things from so many countries. But anybody, if I have to use dollars, yen, euro in India, those currencies I can't use directly in India. I will have to get them exchanged into rupees. Or the foreigners will have to exchange them into rupees and then supply it to India. If this is understood, then you will find that the column consists of elements of the demand for rupees. The row consists of elements of the supply of rupees. Likewise, the second row and the second column will show, second row will show supply of dollars, second column will show the demand for dollars. Third row will show the supply of yen, and third column will show the demand for yen. Later, in case you have not, in case you feel that I have gone too fast over this table, after my lecture, just ponder for 5 minutes over it and you will get it immediately. Those who have to pay to India have to demand rupees. If India has to pay to others, we have to demand foreign currency and we have to supply rupees. We can't supply anything else. Foreign currencies we cannot produce. So rows show supply and columns show demand. Now, at the same time, we have for all currencies of the world. Now you see the entire foreign exchange market we can put in the form of a system of equations, which says that PBA, which is supply of dollars to India, converted into Indian currency, that's why it is multiplied by EAB, which is rupees per dollar, right? That becomes the receipts of India in rupee terms, but they are coming from America. PCA into EAC is our receipts from yen in the form of rupees. PDA into EAD maybe from euro, and so on up to PZA into EAZ. So these are all payments being made by foreigners to India being converted into Indian rupees. Left-hand side shows the total demand for rupees in the rest of the world. Right side, PA, shows the supply of rupees to the rest of the world. Okay, likewise for country B, left-hand side shows the demand for dollars by the rest of the world. PB is the supply of dollars to the rest of the world. And likewise for each currency. So the whole foreign exchange market, I have been able to write in the form of Z balance of payments equations, in which there are, of course, Z into Z minus 1 exchange rates of each currency in terms of each currency. But as you know, if you see the foreign exchange quotations on any day, you will see that rupee to dollar rate and dollar to rupee rate will be exactly reciprocals. So if rupee to dollar rate is say 70 rupees to a dollar, then dollar to rupee will be 1 divided by 70, right? So this you will see every day in the foreign exchange market. So you get those many equations also, and then ultimately the final equations which you can solve, okay, is this system of equations. Okay, same equations but written all in terms of any one currency, say dollars or say rupees or yen or whichever currency. Now, I don't want to, you are all commerce students, so I know you are not mathematics students, but yet you would know from your school days, and I don't want to use mathematics more than school mathematics, that if you have to solve for 10 unknowns, you have to have 10 independent equations. If you have to solve for 2 variables, you have to have 2 independent equations. The number of independent equations and the number of unknowns or variables has to be exactly equal, neither more nor less. So then I can get exactly a system to solve for EAB to EAZ. EAB to EAZ are NZ minus 1 exchange rates, and I can use the other reciprocal exchange rates to solve for all the remaining exchange rates of each currency in terms of every other currency. Now you see this, just get a feel of this. You can work it out and study it and discuss it and debate it later. But if you look at this system as it stands, it shows you all the elements of demand and supply, all in the matrix on the left-hand side. So if you see the principal diagonal, PA, PB, PC, PZ, principal diagonal, you have the supplies of the various currencies, rupees, dollars, yen, euro, and so on. And the off-diagonal elements, minus PBA, minus PCA, minus PZA, minus PAB, minus PAC, all those elements are the elements of demand arising from various countries for that currency. So there is demand and supply. All the forces are put into one single matrix and solved in a system of simultaneous equations. And this is how the solution is. Now I should leave the mathematics aside, okay, and just tell you that exchange rate is not determined 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Just price level in America by price level in USA. Sorry, price level in India. Again, only 2 countries and 2 currencies at one time. Okay, it is not determined in this way. The central message that I want to give you is that the demand and supply forces of all countries interact in the foreign exchange market in order to determine the rate of exchange. And all those factors are shown in the demand supply of all those countries are shown on the left-hand side. There is the PAB to PAZ, that is the payments made by country A to the rest of the countries on the right-hand side. Of course, there are always 2 sets of exchange rates. One is called the spot rate of exchange. Second is called the forward rate of exchange. But that, because of Keynes's interest rate parity theorem, we already know what is the relationship between forward and spot. So FIJ is the forward rate, EIJ is the spot rate of any 2 currencies, I and J, all currencies that is, and that depends upon the interest rate in country I divided by interest rate in country J. So but this is an established equation for the last more than 100 years. So that is no difficulty. Now, I want to show you how this model sort of performs empirically. Empirically means, does this model work or does it not work? So what we have now started doing with 2 of my PhD students is, this is a numerical example, but I can skip it in the interest of time so that within 1 hour, I am able to, sort of round up this lecture. I have given a numerical example of 7 countries, with an international payments matrix of 7 countries paying one another. And from that, we get the exchange rates, which exactly clear all the markets. On the principal diagonal, of course, is rupee to rupee, dollar to dollar, yen to yen. That must be by definition equal to 1. So that's why there is only 1, the number 1 on the principal diagonal. But the off diagonal elements tells you how many rupees exchange for how many dollars exchange for how many rupees, how many yen exchange for how many dollars, how many euros exchange for how many yen, And all those cross rates of exchange, all of them are solved and determined simultaneously in the foreign exchange market. Now, if I confront this model to the facts as they are of balance of payments as they are reported by the countries to the International Monetary Fund. All of you must be knowing about International Monetary Fund. It was created after the Second World War. Mainly, it was created to manage the exchange rates of various countries in the world. Because in the interwar period, between the First World War and the Second World War, there used to be what is known as competition amongst nations to devalue their currencies. Why devalue? Because by devaluing your currencies, you could get an export advantage. So if India devalued its currency, then closest competitor, one of the big export items in those days of India used to be jute and tea. So, and Bangladesh was our competitor so far as jute is concerned. China was a competitor so far as tea is concerned. So what we would do is we would devalue and get our jute would become cheaper. So nobody would buy Bangladeshi jute. Our tea would become cheaper. So nobody would buy Chinese tea, and all that market would shift in favor of India. But then Bangladesh will see, अरे अपना market कम हो गया. What can I do? So if India has devalued, I should also devalue. So the Bangladeshi taka in competition, they would devalue. And the Chinese currency, to get their tea market back, they would also devalue. All these were known as competitive devaluations. Plus, there were tariff wars and there were many, many other things which the countries, mainly in Europe, were doing. Germany versus France versus England, like that. And therefore, that was one of the reasons for fueling the war and creating a lot of suspicion between countries. So after the Second World War, they said, let us reduce this level of suspicion which is there in the international trade field, and let us create some institutions which will regulate international trade and payments. So that's how the World Bank, the IMF, and the GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, which is now the World Trade Organization, WTO, were created. So WTO said no unilateral action. No country will take unilateral action on the tariffs. I mean, I cannot put any kind of customs duties and get away with it. And IMF said that no country will devalue without permission of the IMF. So there was a fixed exchange rate system which was running for many, many years. Then, of course, by 1971, the fixed exchange rate system broke down. It can be a subject of 2-3 more lectures, but I'm sure your teachers will tell you about it. I will only make a long story short and tell you that the world now is on a flexible exchange rate system of the type which is there in our equations. But it is not fully flexible. From time to time, central banks of various countries intervene in the foreign exchange market. They will buy and sell foreign exchange on their own account to guide the exchange rate movements. Generally, of course, it is the market which determines the exchange rate, but central bank will sort of moderate the rate of depreciation or the rate of appreciation and slow it down so as to make it gradual. This is what, so it is known as floating exchange rate, but not as a fully just going by market, but partly controlled by central banks. So it is called dirty floating or managed floating exchange rates. Now, of course, the IMF is still there. It doesn't manage fixed exchange rates, but it, from time to time, it gives advice to various countries on how to go about, managing part of the movement in the exchange rates. So naturally, it compiles data from all the member countries. And there are more than about 150 member countries of the IMF. and they report their quarterly data on a regular basis to IMF. So what we have done, I and my students have done, is that we have seen the quarterly data of 149 countries from 1995 to 2021. Mind you, this is quarterly data, quarterly balance of payments deficit. Now, we found, I'll just quickly read this table. Where there is depreciation, where there is a deficit and depreciation, what is the fraction? Where there is a surplus and appreciation, what is the fact? What is the fraction where this happens? Deficit is also there, and that causes depreciation. How many times? Surplus is there and it causes appreciation. How much? How many times? Deficit or surplus is zero, so exchange rate does not move at all. How many times? This is what we went on counting, quarter by quarter by quarter. Now we found that out of 585 observations, which is quarterly data of 149 countries from 1995 to 2021, there were total observations of 16,585. 7,245 times out of this, there was a deficit and there was depreciation, which is 43% of the total. In 7,026 times, there was a surplus and there was an appreciation of currency. That has happened 42% of the times in the data. 642, I am going to the last row, 642 times, there was neither deficit nor surplus, and of course the exchange rate did not change. That happened 3.87% of the times. Okay, so those are the fixed exchange rate, very, very few. But they had also zero deficit or zero surplus. But we also found in 3 and 4, row number 3 and 4, some observations which are not exactly going by our theory. So where there is a deficit, but the currency appreciates, that is 966 times. Where there is a surplus, but currency depreciates, this happens 706 times. So that total where the theory is going wrong is 10% of the times, and where the theory is going right, the theory that we have just studied, is about 90%. So 90% we have been able to get accuracy, but 10% we have not been able to get accuracy. So now obviously we are working on that 10%. Why when there is a deficit, the currency is appreciating? Why when there is a surplus, the currency is depreciating? Exactly what are the forces which go into it? That is the thing that we are at present working on. But otherwise, our theory seems to be fitting quite well. Now, towards the close of my talk, I would like to make an observation of how this connects up with the order flow model, which Lyons and others who are sitting on foreign exchange desks, they are not abstract economists like me, okay, who is sitting in an armchair in my room and then making my theories. They are not like that. They are actually sitting in foreign exchange banks, and they are finding that it is order flows which makes all the difference. What is the connection between the theory that I have shown you and the order flow model? So let me come to that. I'll have to, of course, go a little behind to that international payments matrix. Let me give you this matrix of international payments. It's the same that I had shown you earlier. When I say that the first row consists of my payments to America, that is A is India, B is America, C is Japan, let's say D is Europe, and so on and so forth. When I say I have to pay 100,000 rupees, 100,000, whatever it is, rupees to America, I have to pay 75,000 rupees to Japan, 20,000 rupees to Europe, etc., etc. What it means is I am going to place a sell order for rupees. Please, I cannot do it by myself because I have got only rupees. To my American counterpart, I have to pay dollars. To my Japanese counterpart, I have to pay yen. To my European counterpart, I have to pay euro. So I have to go to a foreign exchange bank. I have to tell them 100 rupees, I want to sell rupees worth 100 rupees and I want to buy dollars. At the same time, I am going to a foreign exchange bank and telling them I want to sell 75,000 rupees and I want to buy yen worth that. And I will ask for their quotes, and obviously I will try to select that bank which gives me the best quote. So I will not ask one bank, I will ask 4, 5, 6 banks at the same time. And wherever I get the best quote, I will. So they want my business and I want to do business with them, both. So ultimately a competitive quote will be selected and I will do it. But now you see that these are orders which I place. Want to sell, sell. This is a sell order, which is going to go on the desk of the foreign exchange bank. And that is what James Lyons and his colleagues are going to see. I want all of you to see the connection between international payments and receipts and order flows. Now, let's go to say the second row, first element, 5 maybe 5,000 US dollars. So when I say this is an American now, he is saying, I want to sell 5,000 US dollars. Okay, I want to sell 5,000 US dollars because I have to pay India 5,000 US dollars. So now he is going to sell 5,000 US dollars and demand Indian rupees, and he asks for quotations. Similarly, country C places an order to sell 1,000, whatever it is, 1,000 means 1 million euros, yen, and says, I want rupees because it has to pay 1,000 yen to India, and so on. So simultaneously, while I am paying to America, to Japan, to Europe, and so on, all of them are also paying to me. And all these order flows, sell and buy, are taking place on the foreign exchange market at the same time. So if you actually work out these equations, if you want to find out if India's payments to the rest of the world increase, say from 100 to 200, 75 to 150, 20 to 40, said they are doubling to every other country of the world. But all the other payments which are coming to India, that means India's receipts, they are not changing. Then you will find that the supply of Indian rupee has gone up. Too many sell orders of Indian rupees take place, but there are not enough buy orders. Therefore, you will find the rupee depreciating. But if a lot of people want to pay to India, because India is exporting a lot, Indian tourism is booming, many students are coming to take education in India, many software companies want to invest in India, many people want to invest on our stock market or debt market, then payments of rest of the world to India will rise, buy orders for Indian currency will rise, and the rupee will appreciate. And likewise, at the same time, for all the currencies. I say India, India, because we are all Indians, but it is happening at the same time for all the currencies in this table. So this is the connection between the international payments metrics and the order flow, which the people sitting on the foreign exchange desk have observed to perform much better than the other theories of the foreign exchange rates. Lastly, while closing, let me show you how that the balance of payments surplus or deficit and how depreciation and appreciation graph for the Indian economy looks. This is from 1995 to 2021. Now, if blue line is the balance of payment deficit and the yellow line, it is the percentage appreciation or depreciation. What it means is, when it is more than 0, it means rupee has depreciated. And if it comes less than 0, it means rupee has appreciated. Okay, appreciated means rupee has become costlier in terms of dollars. So that is how you have to read this. The blue line, if it is less than 0, it means deficit. If it is above 0, it means appreciation. So now if you have a look at this graph and generally see, you will find the inverse relation I was mentioning to you about. Whenever there is a deficit, you will find rupee depreciating. And whenever there is a surplus, you will find the rupee appreciating. That means coming below the 0 line, below the x-axis. So that is how the inverse relationship between deficits and surpluses and the exchange rate movement works out. I can, of course, show you this kind of a graph for several other countries of the world, and it will have the same kind of, it will exhibit the similar kind of behavior. So this is the theory of foreign exchange that we are proposing, and this is, of course, the result of the motivation given to me and the guidance given to me by Dr. B.G. Bapat. And I thought the best way to pay homage to him is to present to you work which I had done with him and on which there is further continuing work taking place at the Gokhale Institute. So thank you very much. Dr. Lakhe, you may please take over.
Yes,
Of course, I have to
yes.
apologize for that the lecture is a bit technical, but I hope the audience would have got something out. Yeah.
Sir, if you don't mind,
Yes,
can I
yes,
ask a
agree.
doubt?
Yes. Actually, the next the discussion is open for the questions. Yes, please, Pranjal. Go ahead.
Yeah,
may ask.
sir, do you think that Indian rupee is going to dominate in the near future?
Indian rupee is not going to dominate in the near future. If you see, Indian rupee is going to depreciate. So long as we have a balance of payment deficit, nothing can happen except depreciation of the Indian rupee. All that the RBI can do is control the speed of that depreciation, because RBI is sitting on a huge amount of foreign exchange reserves, right? So it can on its own sell rupees and sell dollars and buy rupees, and that way prop up the rupee. But that it can do only for the rate of depreciation. It cannot stop depreciation from happening.
Yeah, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sir, there is one more question in the chat box.
Yes.
Sarang Thuse has asked, what is the impact of black money on the exchange rate between two countries?
See, first of all, you have to understand that there is no such thing called black money. Okay. Black money is a misnomer. What is black is black income. Okay. That black income I can hold in the form of money, I can hold in the form of a house, I can hold it in the form of land, I can hold it in the form of gold, I can hold it in the form of shares. The idea is not economic at all, it is a legal idea. If I make some money, that means income, by selling hashish or by selling whatever, some drugs, that is a banned activity. I am not allowed to do that by the law. But if I make money that way, that is called black money. But that is not money, it is my black income. That income, say, if I purchase shares, those are black shares. If I use that income to purchase land, then that is black land. If I hold it in my account, it is black money. If I hold it in my pocket as currency notes, it is also black money. So don't think black money is an economic category. If it happens that selling of drugs is legalized, you are allowed. And then if I sell drugs, if the same income which I earn will become white, nothing black about it. Okay, but if I try to save tax, I don't pay tax on it, then to that extent only it becomes black. The rest of, not all of it. Suppose my tax bracket is 30%. I sell hashish, I earn some money, say 100 rupees, 30 rupees I am supposed to pay tax, but I don't pay tax of 30 rupees, then that 30 rupees out of the 100 rupees is black, 70 rupees is white. Am I clear? Am I clear, Mr. Tutse?
Yes,
sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So,
Sir, just
yeah.
I want to add one more thing in that.
Yeah.
I want to ask brother.
Yeah.
Sir, as you said correctly,
Huh.
that there is no black money as such in the economy.
Yeah.
And if we want to, if you take into account the depreciation of a currency, because the depreciation that is directly linked to the market forces. You know,
Yes.
the market forces determine the value of a currency.
Yes.
If there is, as you said, that the illegal money in the economy, so don't you
Yeah.
think that it will reduce the economic value of any currency in the market, in the foreign exchange market?
See, illegal money is always bad. It's always bad for various reasons. Now, in the foreign exchange market itself, there is a black market in foreign exchange called the Hawala market. So all transactions which are banned, we have under what is known as the Foreign Exchange Management Act. So there are only some activities for which I can legitimately get foreign exchange, not for all activities. So what has happened is, if I want foreign exchange for other activities, those which are banned, then I can go to what is known as the Hawala market, okay, and get it done. So that Hawala market operates basically in Dubai, partly in Singapore, partly in India. It's also an international market. So those are known as Hawala transactions, right? And they are not the ones which are reported. Okay, so you can say that black money or black whatever it is, it can take transactions in that can take place through the Hawala market.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anyone? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, sir. I have
Yes.
another doubt. May
Yeah.
I?
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. I would like to ask what percentage of the impact do you think that FIIs have on the currency exchange rate? Because if we pay attention
Oh,
in
yes.
December 2021,
Yeah.
because of huge FIIs selling,
Yeah.
rupee has depreciated really very badly, and dollar price had increased nearly about 76. So,
Yes.
what percentage of the impact it has accurately on the exchange rate? Because it might not be the only factor affecting the exchange rate.
Yes, it is not the only factor, but you have very rightly said that when a large amount of selling took place, there was a depreciation. But you have to see it in terms of the total surplus or deficit. You see, selling by FIIs, that means the investments in our markets were sold by them, and they were going into the US market. Okay, because US interest rate was expected to appreciate. So they sold their shares and bonds here and moved the money to US. So naturally, what has happened is, where does FII outflow come? FII outflow also comes in on the debit side of the balance of payments. So debits increased, that means payments increased, receipts remained the same. Naturally, there was a balance of payment deficit, and therefore it is the same story which I have been telling you. Where there is a deficit, depreciation must follow. So that's the full mechanism of what you are asking about. Suppose
Thank you,
that
sir.
suppose at that time from some other country there was a big inflow taking place of the same amount, then the rupee would not have depreciated, because that deficit would have got nullified by the receipts that we were getting. But because we were not getting anything from anywhere, everybody was attracted to the US market. Everybody was selling from Indian market and trying to go into US. So that's what caused the depreciation.
Yes, sir, understood. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you, Dhwani.
Very. Okay. Is there any question? Hello.
No, sir.
Okay, ठीक है. Sir, thank you so much. It was really, as you said that day that the topic is so technical, but you explain in a way that graduate student can understand that international economics in a very simple form. Thank you so much, sir, for your, enlightening the audience. Now I request our head of the department, Dr. Shivaji Pawar, sir, to express the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible, sir? Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to present vote of thanks for today's third Dr. B.G. Bapat Memorial Lecture 2022. I would like to thank today's resource person, Dr. Rajesh Parchure, sir, Senior Professor and former Director, Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, for enlightening us on the topic of the multi-country transaction and the determination of the exchange rates. In his speech, sir has covered many areas of the international economics with reference to the determination of the exchange rates. He has also highlighted the important areas such as international payment metrics, various rates of the exchange, flexible exchange rates with very simple examples and tables. Sir has also explained how foreign exchange rates determined through the demand and supply in a very simple manner. Sir has also talked about how the Indian rupee is appreciating as well as depreciating with the very simple examples. Today's sir's lecture was full of knowledge and interesting things related to multi-country transactions and the determination of the exchange rates. It gave deep insights into the topic and also revealed some interesting facts. The point where Dr. Rajesh Parchure sir told us about the rate of exchange multi-state transaction was really informative and valuable for the students as well as the researchers. I'm pretty sure the precious knowledge that Dr. Parchure sir has gave us will definitely help us in our knowledge and the interest of the international economics. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Parchure sir for taking out time from his busy schedule and enlightening us with the knowledge. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our PTVS management for their constant and the kind support to organize today's event. I also want to thank our dynamic beloved principal, Dr. Sonali Pendekar madam, for giving permission to organize this memorial lecture and inviting Dr. Parchure to conduct it. I would also like to thank our vice principal, Sir Dr. Rajan sir, for his valuable guidance and support. I thank my department colleague, Dr. Arjun Lakhe, for his hard work to make this event successful. I also thank Mrs. Gopika Pal madam for her active involvement for the today's event. I thank our IT coordinator, Dr. Hirendan sir, for technical support to conduct the smooth conduct of the today's event. Last but not least, I would like to thank our teaching staff, students for paying attention and learning. Once again, thank you all. Thank you, everyone. Over to Dr. Arjun Lakhe.
Thank you, sir. I think Principal Madam is here. Okay, with the permission of the chair, now I declare that this program, the third Dr. B.G. Bapat Memorial Lecture is over. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
बरं झालं का रे?
हाँ सर, हाँ सर.
First time.
हो.
I don't know.
ते लॉजिक आहे ना, ते आता समजलं.
जनरली क्लॅरिटी होती का?
काहीच असं वाटलं नाही.